Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hi, folks, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is indeed Avrum Rosensweig, and I'm just delighted to be here. Thank you so much for joining me. I often ask people to consider what they might take out of the interviews that I'm doing in order to grow as a person. And today I'm interviewing my very dear friend, David Rheaume. How are you, David?
I am well, sir. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure. And I would ask you, as David and I proceed over the next hour or so, to consider what he has done throughout his life with incredible tenacity and fortitude to get where he's at today as, I would say, one of Canada's finest artists. In order to succeed at something, you need to have balls and you need to not give up and push as hard as you possibly can, even if you end up finding that you have this huge tumor in your gut, which you did, right?
Yep.
You just kept going.
Good.
So tenacity is a really big deal to find your own zone. A lot of people out there whom I speak with have a real hard time finding that gift, that inner gift. But the only way you're going to do it is by giving lots of stuff a shot and by staying with it and seeing what you can make out of it. So, David, I'm going to introduce you formally.
Okay.
And once again, thanks for doing this.
Well, thank you for having me on.
For sure. Today's guest is David Rheaume, a filmmaker, a painter, a storyteller, and someone whose life journey has been anything but ordinary. He was born in Ottawa in 1963, and he grew up the youngest of six kids in a bustling household where winters were filled with tobogganing and creativity often meant sketching comics with his brother. From an early struggle with serious knee issues to becoming an all-star football player in high school, David's determination defined him. That same drive carried into an artistic pursuit, first as a budding comic artist, then as a filmmaker, and eventually as a painter whose work now hangs in galleries all over the world. His career has spanned decades, from editing commercials in Toronto's ad world to co-founding Generator Films, to eventually striking out on his own as both a freelancer and a fine artist. Along the way, he's navigated the highs of creative success, the challenges of shifting art market, and even a life-altering health battle. In this conversation, we'll dive into David's story, the intersection between comics, film, and painting, the realities of making a living as an artist, and the looming role of AI in the creative industries. It's a story about resilience, reinvention, and what it really takes to live a life devoted to the arts. Would that be accurate, David?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I know I gave you $20 on all those words to say, but thank you. I appreciate the way you did that.
I only got a 10.
He's thrifty as well. You should add that in.
And David Rheaume is cheap. Yes. You know, David, I've always been fascinated by your tenacity, by your willingness just to push forward, regardless of how hard things are. Now, I myself am an artist, and I know how difficult it is to make a living at it, to sell art, in particular here in Toronto and Canada. But you have really, really pushed hard. What do you think it is that encourages you just not to give up?
Well, I think in part because, what's the alternative? I've got a fairly active TikTok account, and I just did a little piece on art shows, because you can have really mixed success at an art show. And sometimes, you do all this work. It's the same amount of work, whether you sell or not. You do all this work and you get shut out. You don't sell anything substantial. And it's so hard, to pick yourself up again and go. So what I do is I allow myself a day to be angry, and then it's okay, I got to get back on the horse, because honest to God, what's the alternative, right? It's, do you stop? Do you give up? You just got to keep on keeping on, but be relentless, for sure. Relentlessness.
I have struggled with my podcast. There's about 1 million people out there doing podcasts,
Right.
and the competition is just bloody fierce. Same thing when I started doing art, more seriously.
Yeah.
I would look around and say, "Oh shit! Like there are brilliant artists out there. What am I doing?" Did you go through that machination as well?
I did, especially early on, because when I got out there and I started to sell paintings, I was just astounded by the sheer number of people
Yeah.
and how good they are at it. I mean, we're talking about, photorealistic horses with every hair on them and like just jaw-dropping stuff. And I remember thinking, oh my God, how would I ever compete against these folks? But what you realize though is that art, the important part about art is to be distinctive and to take the one thing you have, which no one else has, which is you. And you take yourself and you inject it into your art. So for example, my winter night scenes, I mean, that's just part of my soul because as a kid growing up in Ottawa, I spent so much time in the snow at night. So the whole vision of like snowflakes falling down through lamplights and the cold and the way the light of the houses would hit the snow, like all that stuff's baked into me. And that's the stuff I bring into my art. And I don't have to be the best renderer on earth. I mean, there's lots of other people who have more skill at rendering. But, if I bring the character, that's the thing I've got and the personality. And one more thing I'll say is that as my overall tip to anyone starting out in the art biz, the important thing is to be distinctive beyond all else. It doesn't matter if you can technically render something brilliantly. People have to be able to walk by your art and go, oh my God, that's a Dave Rheaume for sure. Or, oh my God, that's an Avrum Rosensweig, because I just automatically, there's a style and a theme that you just recognize as his. So that's what you got to do.
Do people do that? Do they stop and go, "Yeah, I've seen your stuff"?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And people compare me to other artists. Like probably the best reference for your listeners is Edward Hopper.
Yes.
Who did the Nighthawks one. That's a good reference. I get Alex Colville a lot too, and a few others. Lowry, this guy in England, these squiggly little people. And I think you've reached a good point when people can compare you to someone else or you remind them of somebody else. That's a great spot to get to as an artist.
When you were out there in Ottawa in those cold winter evenings where your toes were just short of falling off, and I know I've been in those winters. I grew up in Kitchener.
Oh, well, there you go. Same thing, basically.
You remember, Dave, when you were a kid? I was born in 1960. You were born in 63. Do you remember how the perception, or in reality, because we were little, that the snow was like up to our ears, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Canyons. Like the streets were canyons.
Yeah, right. Exactly. On both sides. And then the snow blower would come through, the trucks would come through and push them to the side. But what really interests me is that while you were out there playing hockey and playing sports, what you remembered was, as you just said, the snow falling.
Yeah.
Yet your brothers and the guys that you played with, they weren't taking in those moments the same you were. So does that mean, do you believe that you have what we might call an artist's soul?
Yes, is my short answer to that. I'm not necessarily a guy who believes in a soul, but I think your soul is your experiences and the things that connect with you and that you sort of store within you. Mm-hmm. That when you see them again later on, they kind of resurrect those feelings for you. So yes, I would say that's in my soul. That the winter night thing, the sort of quiet, the solitude, that stuff, that's definitely a part of my soul. Another thing, actually, when I was a kid, is I used to hang around on the railroad tracks with my buddies, and we get up to all kinds of mischief.
Like what?
We used to play a game where we got our hands on a Second World War helmet. We were like 12. So there was a fence that was broken down on the other side of the tracks, and we found some chunks of wood. And we played a game basically called Bombardment, where one guy would put the helmet on. He would go into this little lean-to that we constructed by putting boards on this rickety old fence. And then the rest of us would throw rocks from the tracks and pummel the little lean-to fort to the point where the guy would surrender. So, of course, you would amp up your attacks. The rocks would get bigger and bigger. And you're in there, right? You got the helmet on, and the wood is like this close to you. And all it is like, these rocks and the wires are barely holding and you're just terrified.
Like,
And
do you remember when you were the kid with the helmet on?
oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Vividly.
Yeah.
So that's just, I mean, it's just dumb, 12-year-old boy stuff, right? I mean, this is the kind of shit we would, when a train would come by, we would let the engine go by so the guy didn't see us. And then we'd go up the gravel and like stand about this far from the movie, like sort of see how close you can stand to it as it's whipping by. I mean, this stuff is so dangerous.
But you know what? I remember growing up and terrible memories. There was always a kid who would die. Right? Did someone die from doing like crazy stuff like that? I have a friend used to climb the cliffs out near Milton. The what's it called? The Canadian. I forget what it's called.
The Kelso,
like near Kelso
cliff, yeah.
And they would be on acid, because they were so bored in their small towns, and somebody would always die.
Yeah. Yeah, I lost a high school friend that way. Post high school at university, climbing up the side of a building on a UBC where you could sort of go up in sections, like a story at a time. But when you got to the top, you were like 4 stories off.
Yeah.
And he fell, and that was it for him. He was like 19 years old.
Oh yeah.
This stuff happens. I mean, I'm surprised young males don't die way more often, because we would climb trees. You'd be 60 feet up. And then for a lark, you would go, hey, watch, I'm going to hang from the branch. You would, let your feet go.
And if you wouldn't do it, the other guys would go, oh, you're a wuss, man.
Exactly.
And then you'd feel awful.
Yeah, what's worse, right?
Exactly.
Dying or being shamed by 5 other 12-year-old boys.
So you grew up in a home where your father was Métis, your mom was German.
That's a good mix.
Which of those is more palpable inside of you? Do you feel very German? Do you feel very Métis?
More the Métis, because the Métis have a bit of a storytelling bent to them, and I think that's in my makeup. I've got a couple other brothers that are very efficient guys who are very much into data, science, and facts, and I think they probably got the German bit more.
Yes.
We kind of divide evenly down the middle of the creatives and the non-creatives, but there are a lot of storytellers in the family, and I'm pretty sure that's my dad's doing, his genetics.
So is there something about you on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a yearly basis that is in fact Métis?
That's a really good question. I don't think anyone would know the difference between me and your quote unquote white guy. I basically live my life exactly like a white guy would. I've done a lot of work for the Métis National Council. I used to go to their conferences and take their meetings and stuff and interview them. So I know a lot about the lifestyle, but no, I don't. You wouldn't see me walking down the street and know otherwise.
Is there an aspect of the Native community that you hold dearly to your heart?
Again, I've been raised in such a segregated way from that. There's definitely, their love of the land and that sort of thing. That's probably a connection. I've never actually had this question. It's a good question. And as I ponder through it, I think that love of nature and the land, which I definitely do, is there. And I feel like that's kind of in my soul. And I feel like I have a bit of a northern feel to me, like the north sort of beckons and pine trees, coldness, that sort of thing. Aurora borealis, all that northern mythical stuff is sort of in there. So it's probably that's where that's coming from.
Are you one who goes out into nature nowadays, be it in the summer on a trek, doing a hike across a path, or now in the wintertime as you used to as a kid?
I'm a bit more of a homebody now, just because I've gotten older. I'm not as adventurous. The knees are shot. So no, I don't do a lot of winter activities other than hockey, but that's all in arenas. And it's hard in Toronto to escape and get beyond, urbanization. I was just up at my brother-in-law's cottage helping him build a deck, and there was no other humans around. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Was it nice?
Oh, quiet. We heard like 3 cars the whole time in the 2 days. It was fabulous. So that stuff I love too.
Whereabouts is he?
He's up north of Kingston by about a half hour.
Okay.
But
Any place up there is just stunning, isn't it?
yeah, and you go every time you go through this whole debate. Could I live up here?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was definitely feeling like, oh, I could just live here. But then I start thinking of the cultural aspects, and would I want the cultural hub, the nearest one, to be the Tim Hortons? It's like, I want a little more than that. I like to go to the Toronto Symphony and go to fine Indian restaurants and stuff. Like, I couldn't give up the urbanization thing. So
Right. So those Timbits aren't just enough for you.
not quite. Close.
You know what? I was watching one of your interviews, and you were explaining your by the way, your videos on TikTok are outstanding. They really are.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, they're excellent. You're very effusive. You're very out there. You're very dramatic. Some people are really into horses. You just did that, right?
Yeah, I just did that one this morning.
Yeah. So I'm watching you, and you explained how you paint, and more so in that particular video where you paint, and you showed that you're standing up in the kitchen, and all of your art material is kind of out on the counter. And I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, well, first thing is, some artists stand up when they paint, others sit down, and then others will kind of switch back and forth. How did you arrive at that particular technique?
Well, I actually sit down pretty much full time when I paint now. I do switch locations, so my kit is very portable. So I'll paint out in the backyard. I'll paint down at the dining room table. It's kind of what environment I want around me while I paint. And I have the studio here behind me where I have easel paints. Everything's all set up. So now I'm seated when I paint. And I used to paint on a flatter surface. That video is an older one where I would paint sort of looming over the thing. But now I've learned I paint on an easel with the painting almost upright. And that was initially challenged to go to that because the paint would run. But I've learned sort of the exact way to mix it so that it holds even when I'm almost fully vertical. So that's pretty much exclusively the way I paint now, especially for big things. Little things, like I paint little wood blocks, I can even just hold those in my lap while I'm watching the hockey game or something. So
that's a really nice product that you've come up with, those blocks.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, great product. You want to tell us about those?
So I paint on little 5x7 wood blocks. Don't know that I have any handy here to show you. About this big wood. You buy them at any art store. They have sort of a 1-inch thick edge that they're on. And I use these almost as little quick studies. I try to go fast because that's actually a good exercise too as a painter. To paint something as quickly as you can, like sort of say in 45 minutes, I want to be done.
Yeah. Because
that frees your hand up, right? You're not getting all precious about little tiny things on there. So they're very spontaneous. But they're still original. So I can price point those at around $50-$60. And it's an attractive buy for people because it's an original piece of art. It's not a print. It's small, but there's no other one like it in the world. So I've been moving some of these, and I'm quite enjoying doing that.
We have a lot of stress in our life. I was talking to you about how difficult it is to be a Jew today, and you laughed at me, of course, like you always do. No, I'm kidding.
I'm laughing with you, not at you.
We don't want people leaving this interview thinking, yeah, Dave Rheaume's an anti-Semite, But I know that when I do paint or when I write or when I do these podcasts, everything falls by the wayside. I'm just a human being, in this case with a friend. Where do you go, David, in your head when you're doing those blocks or when you're doing a canvas?
Yeah, I mean, I have the benefit of like the work I do is almost therapeutic, right? So I'm getting therapy at the same time that I'm building inventory for my business. Just to look at the two sides of it, there's sort of that poetic side, but then there's the business side too. And it's a wonderful thing. And believe it or not, if I'm really into a painting, I'll actually go into the painting. Like I did one of a hockey rink from the 1940s, this enormous wood. It's almost like a church that was out in Nova Scotia. And there's people all in the rafters and like these sections where you could like get way up high and look down. It was just such a great thing. And so when I was painting that, I honestly felt like I'm in there. I'm in that rink. I could just feel it. So anytime I would get up to the canvas, it's like I just went back into that world and back in time. And that was a really great experience. And that happens, I think, with I paint scenes that I like and places I would have liked to have been. And a lot of times I'm right in there. Like I'm doing one right now, I've got it right here, of Vienna.
Yeah.
Vienna in the snow around 1900. And obviously I can't, but if I could, I would go back there. So yeah, I'll go right into that place. And in that sense, it's escapism, right? It's kind of what you're talking about. I'm
Very much.
getting out of the daily grind.
Well, it's meditative. You know what I mean?
I'd be a happier, nicer guy.
Yeah, no question about it. These things do make us nicer. And also, I find that if I'm in the zone at that point, I really don't want anybody else to enter into it, right? Because I think an artist, when they are painting, their essence really comes to the fore, right? And their creativity and all that stuff that they've learned over the last 20, 30 years from painting comes together at that exact moment, right? And it can be ruined, you know? Like you, I think you also have the benefit. You have a lovely wife who, am I correct that she leaves the house every day? Does she go to work?
Not anymore, but because she's doing a lot of virtual stuff. But no, my wife is fantastic. She's been such a great support for me. And, times have been hard in the art biz, especially in the last 10 years. And she's always by my side, encouraging me. I couldn't ask for a better partner in terms of her encouragement. So she's great. I mean, she's given me an entire room of the house too.
That's nice.
I'm not showing you the messy part. I cleaned it up for this interview.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you have high standards on your show, so
Thank you, David. I appreciate you're actually setting the bar here today. It's an interesting point you're making, that art and writing, it's just very much of a solitude sort of thing, right?
Yes.
Right. So
what I like about it, actually, it's one of the aspects I like.
It's true, but isn't there also that flip side to it, which is like, oh man, like I'm not part of the world?
Yes, there is that. There is. But I enjoy my solitude. Not that I'm a hermit or anything, but I enjoy being alone.
Yeah.
I don't have a big issue with that. And, but one of the things I really miss is back in the TV days, you would assemble a crew, well, for like the show we worked on together.
Yes.
You'd assemble this crew and it was like a family reunion almost, because once you got freelancers, and the whole biz is more or less freelancers, but once you got freelancers you liked, you would hire the same people over and over again. So, like, oh my God, he's on the crew or she's on the crew. She's doing makeup. This person's fantastic. And that's an aspect I really miss, that whole bring the team together, get a task done. It's normally fairly challenging task. And then, you dismantle and go your own way. And I get a little bit of that when I do these outdoor art shows. I get to mix and mingle with my fellow artists, most of whom are just absolutely lovely people.
Yes.
And it's not, even though it's a competitive market, we all appreciate each other. We all understand we're in the same boat, and you sort of cheer on the success of the others too. Also, because they're not generally in direct competition with you, because art styles are so different. If someone paints flowers and that's what she sells, well, that's fine. That's not what I'm doing. So all the best to her, right? So
you don't get jealous of other artists?
No, I don't think so. Tastes amongst the audience are so varied that, they're not directly competing with me. And there's going to be people that love my stuff and don't like their stuff, and there's going to be the complete reverse, where people just don't care for what I do. Maybe their thing is abstracts so what you learn is that there's only a small percentage of the market that you're absolutely locked onto and that would buy your stuff, and who, it's sort of your target audience. You cannot target everyone in the art world. Otherwise you just won't, you'll produce mediocre stuff. If you think you can paint for everybody, I'll paint something everyone will like. No, that just doesn't happen.
Right.
So it's all very niched off into little things, right? One of my best friends, she sells abstracts and she does a fabulous job of it. And I couldn't be happier for her success. I don't do abstracts. So that's all it is.
David, you and I first met, it's probably about 25 years ago,
Yeah.
when I was doing a show with Marty Gallen,
Yep.
who's recently passed away. God bless his soul. And it's strange for me to hear myself say that.
But when you
Uh,
say like the late Marty Allen,
the late Marty Gallen, yeah,
I
yeah.
know. Well, I knew Marty really well too, and
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's surreal sometimes when you think that someone's gone like that, right?
he was even late when he was alive. That's the truth. But he was, you know, we came to you and we came to your company to help us with the show. And I would say, firstly, I think the reason why you and I are still friends after all these years is because Marty and I always found you very, very kind. You
Oh,
always, yeah, you were. You were always very kind, and you were always very giving and sensitive to what we needed. And then, of course, on top of that was your creativity and your patience, because you were involved in all aspects of filmmaking, editing, the whole thing.
yeah.
Um, but what I'm curious about vis-a-vis this interview itself is where is the overlap between what you did then, and you do it sometimes from time to time now, having to do with filmmaking, and your art?
Yep. It's in two areas. One, I would say it's in storytelling and narrative. I try to always have a something of a story going on in my painting. And then the other aspect, just from a visual aspect, there's a bit of a cinematic element. So in terms of composition, lighting, that sort of thing. So I had the privilege doing commercials. I worked with some of the best commercial cinematographers in the country.
Yes.
And these are guys who won all kinds of awards and stuff. And just the things you learned about light that sort of came from osmosis just by hanging around them and their knowledge, it's stayed with me, and I bring that into my art as much as I can. So if I've got a guy walking down the street and he's walking by a storefront, then I consider, oh, okay, the lights are on in the store. How's that hitting him? How's it landing on the snow? Like I really think about lighting. To me, it's kind of everything. So that's an aspect of the filmmaking that's definitely crossed over into what I'm doing now. So I get all this all the time. Your work has a very cinematic feel to it, or I like the idea that you're looking at one frame of a film and there's a before and after. So,
Hmm.
for example, I did a painting of a guy delivering ice by a horse sled. And I made sure that because he would have been stopped and stopped the horses and got off, I put footprints all around in the snow as to where he would have walked before he got to the place he was. And all of that implies that this man's life was happening before you glimpse this painting, and it'll carry on after you've glimpsed the painting. So, I
And
yeah,
the footprints themselves have a particular type of lighting, right?
yep, yep. You basically imagine a little bowl almost in the snow, and the far edge from the light is dark, and then you put a little highlight on this side, and it's shockingly simple. I mean, sometimes just a little oval in the snow just suggests it. And that's another important point to fledgling artists out there, is to just suggest stuff. You don't have to do it all in hyper detail. In fact, you shouldn't. And let the viewer's brain take over and go, oh, yeah. And especially when you're working in the background areas of your paintings, you don't want everything to be in full sharp detail, because your job is to guide the eye towards what people are going to see. So if it's the man delivering the ice, that's what you see. And then you see the horses and then the wagon. And then slowly you start to reveal other aspects. But they can't all have the same detailing, or the brain doesn't process it properly.
Yes. Your people in your art, they're not the same as Van Gogh's would be, but they are in terms of the minimalist aspect of
Yes.
it. You don't go into great depth of a person's face, yet they're very powerful because they do reflect a character. As an example, on the cold winter night, this man walking with his fedora down,
Yeah.
and I just felt as I looked at that painting that, yeah, it's a cold night, and I know what those cold nights are like.
Right.
And
Exactly.
is he going home to his wife and to his children?
Yeah. Because he had a bad day at work. Yeah, a lot of that's in the posture of those characters, right? Because this is why I think it's really important as artists to have lived some of this stuff and to inject it into your work, because we've all done that, collar up and hat down, and, that feeling of trying to sort of huddle against the cold. So if you know that, if you know what that feels like, I feel like then you can pump it into the painting a little more, and it'll resonate with, because you grew up in Kitchener, so you know what a cold winter night feels like. So automatically you identify with that.
Yeah, I remember when we would be walking to synagogue, my father and I, let's say on a Friday night when Sabbath would just start, we'd be walking over this bridge near Sterling Avenue, and the bridge was probably a few hundred meters away from a slaughterhouse. You know what I mean? So nowadays, when I look at a bridge on a winter night, I think about those smells emanating from there, you know,
Right.
and I think as a good artist, like you said before, you put yourself in that environment
Yeah.
so you can see what was there at that time. You can even smell what was there at that time, right?
Right. And I'll bet if you catch a whiff of that, you're taken right back.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Smell of all the triggers is just. And when I smell like grass fertilizer, we used to horse around in this kid's shed where his dad kept all the lawn products.
Yeah.
When I smell like grass fertilizer, I'm just like right back there.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it's a really powerful trigger.
I know
Yeah.
early on you used to do comic strips, right?
Yep.
Do you do any of that now?
Not really. Nope. Nope. I used to draw. At one point, I thought I might be a commercial artist as a career because by the time I was in my teens, I was getting pretty decent at it,
Yeah.
drawing superheroes and all that stuff. I'm not sure I would have ever been good enough to get to like Marvel or DC or that sort of thing. And around that time, I was also making films with my buddy, which we would even screen at the school auditorium and stuff. So the filmmaking bug kind of bit. So I was doing both. And then I thought, film, television, video, that sort of stuff, that's probably a better career path than cartooning. So that's where I split off to. And honest to God, at that time, I probably enjoyed it more than cartooning anyway. So that was an easy choice to make.
People like you and I were very highly visual.
Mhm.
And when I used to drive my son to school when he was a little guy along Shepherd Avenue here near Earl Bales Park, it's very beautiful. I would say to him, honey, how many greens do you count? And he was kind of dopey. He still is a bit dopey. And, he would say, oh, I see one, Daddy. I go, no, honey, you don't see one. You see, let's count them, right?
Yeah.
Um, I recently found out that there's actually a condition of very often amongst artists of too much beauty. In other words, because of how we see and how colors penetrate our soul, or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
that it can be overwhelming to see
Yeah.
these beautiful environments. What is fall like for you, David?
Fall?
The fall season, yeah.
Absolutely love the fall. Probably my favorite season.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I like the coolness. Like, I love to be able to sleep with a bunch of blankets on.
Yeah.
But just the colors of the trees. And again, childhood memories. Fall was always a new launching point, right? You were really through my whole life until I started my work career. There was always big changes in the fall. You're starting a new grade or something else, right? So there's sort of an energy to it that I really like. New chapters, fresh beginnings. The air is fresher. I loved Halloween as a kid, just like right up there in my favorite holidays. So
What did you dress up as a
oh
kid?
my God, trying to remember now. A lot of the banal, Ghost and that sort of stuff. Batman, I think I was one year. I also used to get those, the plastic. You for sure you'd remember these. Unless you didn't trick or treat, those sort of plasticky costumes with the plastic mask with the straps where you breathe into it, and all your breath would build up and be soaking wet in there. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, I used to go out as Richard Nixon. And I know how political you are and how much you would like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I find that the fall is overwhelmingly beautiful, almost too much. Sometimes I have to turn away from so much beauty. And
Yeah.
we are so fortunate living here in Southern Ontario
Oh yeah.
to be able to take that all in, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful province.
But yet your colors are not very bold. They're a little bit more muted, right?
Yep.
Whereas I've had I took some art classes, and my teacher called me a fauvist, and
Yep.
fauvism is very bold colors. They're
Yeah.
very
It comes
big
from,
and bold.
I think the word means animal in French,
Is
or
it?
savage in French.
That would
Fauve.
be me, yeah, savage, yeah.
Yeah. So,
But your colors are more muted.
yep. Now that stems from the fact that I say this and it always sounds super dramatic, but I'm colorblind.
Oh,
But that's not, doesn't mean I see in black and white, which is where people go automatically, right? What I have is a red deficiency. So I don't see red as a very bright color. So the way I describe it is if you had a painted light bulb, a red light bulb, you see it as a light bulb on. I see it as the light bulb off. Red is way dialed back. It's a darker color. It's not that vivid. So where this really affects me is when you get a color like a purple and a blue that tonally are almost the same. They're almost as dark as one another. My eye doesn't detect that red that makes it purple, if you get my drift. So they both look kind of blue. And especially if I'm seeing the purple on its own, I couldn't tell you if that was blue or purple until maybe I can compare them directly side by side. But red is not that vivid. So I've got corrective glasses now that when I put them on, it sort of restores me to what a normal human would see. And it was shocking the first time I put them on.
was
Literally,
it?
yeah. So it'd be going by like a brick wall, brown brick wall, where it all looked kind of uniformly brown. I put the glasses on, and suddenly there were individual red bricks that just literally snapped on and popped right out. It was quite something. So anyway, all that to say, I didn't really explore vivid color because it's hard to get a handle on the pastel colors. Those are the things that are really, really tricky when you have a condition like mine. Like creating let's say a terracotta, a brownish color, you can't really see how intense that is. So you may be doing a tile roof in a little village, but you've made the roof way too bright. And I don't understand that because it's not bright to me. So you can easily blow a painting when you start dabbling in red mixes and that sort of thing. The glasses really, really help. I don't paint with them on, but I'll put them on when the painting is done just to confirm that, oh, okay, it's all good. There's nothing that's way too vivid or whatever in the painting.
How did you find out that you were colorblind?
Oh, this goes way back to when I was a kid. So I would pick up the wrong crayons when I was coloring scenes and coloring books and stuff. I'd grab if they didn't have names on them, I would grab a brown and do the grass, and I would grab a purple and do the sky. So, and all of my brothers but one, so there's 4 boys that all have the same thing as me.
Oh,
family. It comes down through the mother's side of the family. So you just learn. I mean, I paint the world I see. And so if I paint it as I see it, you will see it as it's supposed to look to you. So it's all good. Like if I paint a red fire truck, it won't be that vivid to me, but you'll see it nice and vividly. So yeah, at the end of the day, you have to know color theory too. So I took art in high school all 5 years. And so I know which color combos create certain effects. So a lot of it's just I'm going off my technical knowledge. But anyway, to summarize all of that, color isn't a thing for me. Like I don't really get into color. It's never been an important part of what I do. So
yeah, I was just imagining that when your mom and dad saw this within you and your brothers, she probably turned to your dad and go, honey, there's something wrong with the boys. I don't know if that actually happened or not, but
I'm sure it happened a lot.
it probably did.
There was a lot wrong with Dad too, so he's not one to talk.
I think one of the things that behooves us to speak about is the marketing and the sales of art. I know that people whom I speak with who are artists, they want to hear about this because it's a really, really challenging piece. You are ubiquitous, like you are everywhere when it comes to art. And I mean, the first thing I would say to that is well done.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, you work hard to get your stuff out there as you should. Your stuff is gorgeous. But what is your strategy? What is your model for taking what you produce in your studio and then getting it out to the world and ultimately having someone buy it?
I think the more people that can see it, I've actually done seminars about this, and I've talked to art guilds about this. feel like a bit of a fraud because
So do I do too.
my system. It's like I'm not rich, These guys in these real estate seminars, and they're like,
Sure.
loaded. I'm up there telling, yeah, you need to do this, this, and this, and it's like, shit. Why am I not?
Listen, I'm bullshitting right now. We're all frauds.
Oh my God, that's the irreverence that I love about you.
Yeah, I've never painted a picture in my life,
But my strategy now is using TikTok. And by the way, TikTok's fantastic for a guy like me because I have all the television training.
Yes.
And I've got basically a little TV studio in my camera. So I shoot my things. I'll shoot what's called B-roll, which is the things I'm talking about. I'll run around and get footage. So if I'm talking about a certain place, I'll go get some shots of the tents, and then I'll build it all. I could do titles, I could do music mixes. So this is fantastic for me. I make these little 1 minute, little punchy little videos. But my overall plan is to get as well known as possible, to get as famous as possible, because I feel like if you're really, really, really well known, the sales will start to take care of themselves. People will want to come to shows to see you. They'll have heard about you. The more followers you can have on social media, the better. So that's my way to go. It's the only reason I'm doing this podcast is because I just, I don't really care about you or your show. I just,
You're right. I don't
help me out.
Thank you. You're a good man. But I also know that you have a small retail space, right?
I do, yeah. So there's lots of these around. This is another avenue artists can go. They're places where you basically rent a piece of the wall. So it's a large, it's a sort of walk-in shop. Mine's on the Danforth, and you buy like a 8 foot high by 3 foot wide section of the wall, and you can do whatever you want with it. So I've got and you pay monthly for it. It's like paying rent basically.
Yeah.
The shop owners are like, they don't take a cut or anything. They're just basically a landlord. So you pay your rent and you get to put up your little booth. So I use it to showcase new paintings. And I also have smaller items like the wood blocks that I sell and more impulse buy sort of stuff that's cheaper. The theory being you lure people over with the bigger paintings, which are very unlikely to move, but maybe they draw people over to your wall. And then you've got smaller price things ready to go that, I like this guy's work. I can afford to take home one of these little blocks,
Well, what do you know about the character or the behavior of the art purchaser? Have you figured out the psychology behind that?
This is the big mystery, and it's the thing I think everybody grapples with, is what sells. And I think I said it before, there's no real rhyme or reason. Everyone likes different things. It's completely subjective. There's almost no way to predict it. I've been at shows where I did one in Rosedale, actually, my best show ever, where I sold 7 large pieces. And I thought, this is amazing. This is my market.
I'm on the road.
Next year I came back, didn't sell a thing, not one.
Yeah.
Same show, same amount of people flowing by. It was so hit or miss. So I think the best strategy is to be true to yourself and paint something that people recognize comes from an honest place. You're not trying to manipulate them into purchasing. You're not painting like a cute, sad little puppy because you think puppies will sell. You got to be true to yourself, and your market will find you. But on the concept that you won't appeal to that biggest slice of the market, like let's say 1 out of 1,000 people like your stuff enough to put money down for it.
Yes.
Then you need to make sure that 100,000 people know who you are to make enough money at selling it.
I was always perturbed by the Rothkos of the world. They're in, his incredible popularity, and Rothko was the guy who painted 5 lines across a big canvas.
Yeah.
And I guess art critics will look at it and say, "My, this is brilliant."
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm that smart. So, but it seems like, is that a soundtrack or is that a real dog?
That's a real dog. Can I close the door for a second?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, if I get up and close the door.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me today, David.
That animal won't stop until whatever problem is resolved. So
sounds like
how the other one's going. I've got 2 of them.
Is that your pit bull holding onto an old lady next
Yeah,
to
it's
her?
like it, but she's not a pit bull. She's a big suck, but she sounds terrifying.
But I thought to myself after looking at Rothko and seeing where his paintings have ended up in like Rockefeller's offices, the multi-million-dollar sales.
Yeah.
Is it the beauty of it? Is it the actual art of it? Or is it the name of the person?
Yeah, it's a big factor in my
It's a
opinion.
big factor, isn't it?
Yep, it's the old Emperor's New Clothes thing where you get these sycophants who sort of go, "Oh, this is brilliant," and unless you don't want to play the artistic ignoramus and say, oh, that's just a bunch of
Right,
that's
right.
bullshit.
Yes.
A lot of people don't want to play that role, so they go, "Oh, there must be something to this," and it's that
Right.
whole the Emperor's New Clothes. You remember the story of the Voice of Fire in Ottawa? That
No.
big ass, it's like 12 feet high. It's a blue stripe and a red stripe and a blue stripe.
Okay.
And it was a huge controversy because the National Gallery paid like $2 million at the time. It was like 40 years ago for it. And it's an American painter named Barnett Newman. And this is the kind of stuff he does. And it raised this big flap about it's just three stripes. And some people would rave, oh, the red means this and this and that. And other people, bullshit, So
there's a piece of art that was painted or so-called art. A guy got this dead shark, and he kind of fixed it onto a canvas,
yes.
drew lines around or whatever. Sold it for $2-3 million. The problem with the art was that eventually the fish would start to decay.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is nonsense, isn't it? It's just silly.
Or the meat dress, or you name it, right?
Oh, the meat dress, yeah, sure.
Yeah, or the banana taped to the wall. That's got to be the worst example.
It undermines us real artists, I must say.
I think it does. And I don't buy the idea that art is anything can be art. People say, oh well, everything's art. I mean, that banana, that's art. It's like, no, because I feel like visual art is a communication between you and the viewer. You should be communicating a concept, or they should understand, and they should relate to it beyond just the fact that, oh, this guy's famous and I can get $5 million if I buy his banana. Like, to me, you're trying to talk to your audience and convey an idea. And if your idea doesn't convey, or if you have to explain it, then I think you've kind of failed as an artist a little bit.
No, I agree with you.
I had a big online fight with this art prof out of, I forget where he is, San Diego or something. And he had done these pieces where he got like a piece of paper and he got mud from New Jersey after that hurricane came through.
Oh.
Smeared mud all over this paper, and then he would put it up on a wall. And I was saying, what the hell? Like, this isn't art. He goes, well, yes, because once I explained it to people, they would understand this symbolizes. And it's like, but you shouldn't have to stand there beside the piece and explain it. Like, someone should be able to come up to it, look at it, and they connect.
Yes, good point.
And you shouldn't be standing there going, oh, well, did you know I made this from the dirt of the New Jersey? Like, no one cares about that shit. And so in my mind, that's a failure as a communicator, as an artistic communicator. You've failed because you created something that if a dude was sweeping up a construction site, he wouldn't even give it a second thought. He would sweep it into the garbage along with everything else. So you haven't done anything special there.
Nicely said. David, of all your sales over time, what is one or two that really excite the hell out of you? Like, where is your art as we speak?
Well, I've got art over in Europe. I have some friends over in Europe who bought it. It's in US and Canada as well. So I've shipped all across the country. I've shipped down into the US as well, painting. So yeah, Canada, US, Europe. And the other thing is that I'm on a print on demand site. So if people like my art, they can order up whatever print they want. It gets manufactured and brought to their door, and that's worldwide. So actually, I don't even honestly know the extent. I know people from England have prints of mine. Actually, the craziest one once was I did a reverse image search on one of my paintings. So if you go on Google and load up your images, the computer will hunt the world to see where that piece of art shows up. Somehow it knows all the ones and zeros, the codes, and it goes, oh. So I loaded up this one of a freight train I'd done, and it turns up in a bar in Seoul, South Korea.
Really?
Yeah, so someone must have ordered a print, and the program found it because it was on the wall in one of the shots of the people had taken on Instagram at this bar. So, and then as I went on their Instagram account and looked around the bar, there was all these other paintings of mine. So they must have got onto a bit of a motif, and they liked this, and they bought a bunch of prints and put them up around this like really high-end bar in Seoul, South Korea.
How did that feel?
And it was astonishing.
Yeah.
It truly was astonishing. Also, for the sort of global reach, right? Like the fact that it's on the other side of the world, and the fact that I was able to find out that it was on the other side of the world, right? Because I would have never known. So you have all these pictures of all these Korean kids out for drinks after work.
Yeah.
There's my art behind them on the wall, and it's really kind of cool. So
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Do you ever get phone calls out of the blue? Someone sees your art, they track you down?
Yep, I've had that too. I had a guy who actually bought some Dave Rheaume paintings that weren't by me. There was another Dave Rheaume around in the 1960s.
Yeah.
And a bit earlier, and he would do Dave Rheaume's, and they weren't. He was an amateur, I could tell. They weren't that sophisticated. But more than once, I had people contact me. I've got this Rheaume. Is that you? It's like, no, it wasn't me. And then I did some hunting down of this guy. He was down in sort of the southern U.S. around Florida.
Yes.
I got this call from a pastor in North Carolina who had a Dave Rheaume, and he searched me up online, found me, and said, "Is this one of y'all's paintings?" And I'm like, "Well, it's not me. It's this guy. It's this guy from the southern U.S. who, he must have kicked the bucket, and they had an estate sale, and someone probably said, 'What the hell do we do with all of Dave's paintings?' And they kind of released them out because this pastor found it at a yard sale kind of thing, right? So."
Yeah, there's a couple of other Avrum Rosensweigs out there. And,
Yeah.
well, yeah, and they're not that sophisticated in what they do, so I feel they always undermine who I am. But you know that, like, oh, no, that's not me, right?
Not that guy again.
Not that guy, Do you do commissions?
Yep. I do.
You hate commissions, don't you?
No, I don't. Hate's too strong a word, but I've got mixed feelings about them.
Why?
Well, first of all, I should talk about the pros, because it's great because it's kind of a guaranteed sale, which is great. And it's usually for someone, it's going to have a lot of meaning for them. Like I've done paintings of, someone's childhood home.
Yes.
So literally when you hand it off, I've had people cry because it's like, they're just overwhelmed by seeing it. So there's that, which is a super positive. But the other part that's a little bit odd is that, and other artists are this way too, because I've talked to them about it. It's not just me. When you're doing a commission, suddenly it feels like it's no longer just your vision anymore. That other person starts to get in there. And then you start trying to think of what they might want, and it affects your head a little bit. You're not as free anymore, I feel. Like I'm always thinking about them and what will they like this, and if I do this here, are they going to like that? And it gets into that sort of client-y thing almost. And there's also, only a certain amount you want of their input. Overall, I get their input. I check in with them. Hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's going to be a winter night instead of a summer morning, and that's cool. But if you give them too much artistic control, then suddenly you're just, executing someone else's vision. So they're a little odd. I mean, when I get them, I'm almost over it right away, because it's not necessarily your idea.
Yes.
They'll come to you with a photo and, can you do this? And it's like, well, that's not something I would ever do, but yes, I'll give it a go. But that's also a positive, because then sometimes it pushes you to do stuff that you wouldn't have done otherwise, right?
That's true. That you
wouldn't make my commissions similar to the things I would do anyway. Like I tell people, I'm not going to paint your family dog or do your portrait.
No, you won't.
That's not my thing. If you want me to do an old scene of your house from the 1920s, absolutely, because then for some reason, it's kind of a win-win. For some reason they don't like it, I can just throw it into my regular inventory and someone else will buy it.
David, is being an artist a lofty thing?
Wow. I'd say not anymore. Maybe in the 1500s it was, when human beings were just more concerned about, brute survival.
Yes.
And the only artists truly were elite kind of people who could have the time and the resources to devote to art. Now everyone's making art. And no, I don't feel like it. It's a hell of a difficult way to make a living. I would never try and sugarcoat that to anyone starting out. It's really difficult. Well, like any of the performing arts are, right?
Right.
I'm going to be a musician and make a ton of money. It's like, well, good luck to you there, because there's a tiny fragment that actually, really, really succeed. Because in a bad economy, art is the first thing to suffer. This is what I've been experiencing now for like 7 years. As the economy has been going down and down, I liken it to being the canary in the coal mine, because we're the first thing to die off. We're the most fragile monetarily, and it's the first thing to go, because when people can't feed themselves or pay their rent, there's no way they're spending $1,200 on a painting just to stick on a wall. So I've been tracking this now for a while. It started around COVID, and it's just been getting worse and worse and worse. So, and my artist friends are all like this. Some of them are saying that's the worst year I've had in ages.
Is AI having an impact on it as well?
It absolutely is. If not in the people still want to come and physically buy a painting. AI hasn't really made a dent in that yet. But I'm in the stock image business, so I license my paintings to Getty and those Shutterstock, those people. And AI will be able to replicate that stuff so easily. There just won't be a need for artists to create art that you earn residuals on a stock photo company. Even photographers won't make that, because for the high end, like if someone wants a lovely painting for their house, great, that'll still be there. But for the guy who's doing like a little report for his company, he's got a presentation, he needs some images of Toronto skyline. Well, if they subscribe to AI, you literally just type in Toronto skyline, sunset, summer, and 50 different options will jump up in front of his face. And then so whoever used to go out and take those photos is just not even needed anymore. Like it's truly shocking. And what's really bad is in the business we were in, which is television, like corporate videos and stuff. Just to give you a sense of what used to be, if we were doing, TD's annual report, we would hire an actor, hire a writer. We would physically go to TD with lights, cameras, dolly track. Tons of people are getting jobs here. And you'd have a presenter, and he'd walk through the hall and say, oh, this year at TD Bank, or blah, blah, blah. Well, now all of that can be done through AI. Like literally, you can pick your background, you can pick your presenter. They speak in a human tone with proper inflection. You just have to type the script in, and this fake AI generated spokesperson will be walking through your bank talking about your annual report. And so there's no makeup, there's no cameras, there's no lights, there's nothing. There's literally someone at a computer types in what they want the guy to say, and a full video comes out. So think of all the jobs that'll be lost. Just because of something like that.
Yeah, within all of this, David, and I know I've known you for a long time, as I said, you seem to take a very almost holy position to your art and being an artist. It seems to bring you great purpose and meaning,
It does. Yeah. I mean, I love the idea that maybe in 100 years, 200 years, people are still looking at my art.
Right.
Maybe they won't. Who knows? But I'm also somewhat compelled to create. So I would be doing something. I love to garden. So my garden is also kind of a work of art. Stone and flowers and statues, and I love that stuff. So it's a compulsion. And I'm really happy to be doing what I'm doing. I got to say, it's a tough road to hoe, and I'm so thankful of my spouse who supports me. But it's not even work. Like, I'm not going to retire. I'm just going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing now until I physically can't do it anymore.
Yeah, good for you. I was really amazed a few years back when you decided that mostly you were going to be a full-time artist. I really love watching people who go through that evolution. Like they'll tell you, "Oh yeah, yes, I'm a full-time writer now," and you'll think, "Wow, way to go, man!"
Yeah,
that's courageous. Yeah. That's very courageous.
Yeah, you got to be willing to, accept maybe a bit of poverty and a bit of defeat. It's going to be a hard road, but it's worth it. I can't be a 9-to-5-er, and I don't think I could work for anyone else now anymore. I'm also
right.
I'm also too old and too incompetent to be of any value.
Did you say incontinent?
Yeah, that too. I need frequent bathroom breaks in my contract.
Frequent diaper changing. I've been playing around with AI,
Oh, have you?
and I've asked AI over the last few months to create a poem or poems about my guests. So I have an ode to Dave Rheaume,
Oh man.
but not you, the other one from the '60s. No, I'm kidding. And it goes like this: In Ottawa's chill 1963, a Métis boy was born, roots wild and free. German blood from mother's side, 6 children's laughter where love could hide. Townhouse rose in the West End cold, toboggans flying, young hearts hold. Catholic halls from K through 8, a boy with questions, a shifting fate. Hockey dreams on fragile knees, cartilage shadows, silent disease. Weight and will begin to rise, a chubby kid with fire in his eyes. By grade 10, iron built his frame. Football roared and called his name. Surgeons carved the pain away, determined hands shaped a brighter day. Pencil sketch, comics alive, Marvel dreams that could survive. Then reels of film began to spin, with Bernie beside the tales begin. Broadcast halls, Algonquin pride, awards and honor at his side. Videogenic called him near, 11 years of craft and gear. In 86, with love in hand, Nancy joined his life's wild band. Allen came, 3 bright stars to bear his name. Long edits through the sleepless night, frames cut sharp till dawn's first light. Generator Films took its stand, but towers fell, and so the brand. Freelance paths in 2003, stories cut for the world to see. Yet brushes waited, colors poured, paintings hung, and spirits soared. Archives whispered, old scenes found, history ghost in strokes profound. Then love returned as new hearts grew. Soap in hand, a life renewed. 2016 sealed the vow, a canvas shared, still strong till now. But shadows came in 22, a battle fierce, a body bruised, 15 pounds of darkness torn, yet still he stands, remade, reborn. A life of pictures, paint, and song, of frames where broken knees grew strong. From townhouses to gallery walls, a spirit that answers when destiny calls.
Oh my God, that is just the best.
Isn't that something?
It is something.
Isn't it? I know.
So AI did that?
Yes.
So did you load my prep document into AI and it?
Yeah, I go to, there's a couple of AIs that I use. This one particularly was ChatGPT, and I took all the information that I use for the introduction of the show,
Yeah.
and I said, create a poem about Dave Rheaume using the following information.
Shocking.
So I have done this. I've done this for very high profile people around the world. I did this for Bob Ray, the ambassador, Canada's ambassador to the UN, but he didn't like it too much. No, he didn't like it too much. But most people like it. There are those who say, well, AI, there's no soul to it. But I think it's a hell of a lot of fun.
Well, that's as good a summary. I was going to say, can you ship that along?
Yeah, I will.
I kick the bucket before you will. You can eulogize me with that.
You will.
Yeah. I mean, you're putting poets out of business there, but.
Oh, shit. I never thought of that. You're right. Oh, I feel terrible now.
Lord Byron will come out of the grave and strangle you for that.
Yeah, like that dog next door. But David, I wanted to thank you so much for doing this. We've done some other interviews before, and I always enjoy it very much. I love your approach to your art and to life, quite frankly. And I say to you, well done for your tenacity.
Ditto to you too.
Thank you.
You're let me sing your praises, but you're a super talented interviewer because you're genuinely curious about people. You're genuinely interested in them. When you're asking your questions and you're listening, I can tell you're actually taking it in. You're not thinking about, okay, what can my next question be? So kudos to you and the other thing too, I knew from our last interview, which was a blast. I knew that this is just going to be fun. Right. He's such a great guy, and it's so great to talk to him.
I feel like this. There's a couple of things that you need to have or do in order to be a really sort of a superlative interviewer. One of them is curiosity. You just have to be curious. And I do wonder about you. And there's enough time between our meetings that new things are happening.
Right.
And I'm excited to hear about how your life is going. I really am. And I think you're doing a great job, And
Oh,
I think
thank you.
and I think the other thing too is to be conscious of the fact that, right, as you said, when you ask a question, listen to the answer. And a lot of interviewers do not do that, right?
That's not only useful because I used to do tons of interviews too
Yes,
when I was
yes.
a director, especially corporate videos and things. And I used to interview staff and people who didn't want to be on camera. I mean, literally, it was like for them, it's like going to the dentist, right? They hate
Or
it.
worse. Yeah.
So you really need to get in there and sort of gain their confidence and get them to relax and so on. But this applies across the board to just meeting people. I mean, if you're at some dinner party and you're with people you don't know, or at a wedding and you're at a table with the leftover people who don't know each other, you just have to be genuinely curious and interested in what
Right.
these people have to say. And everyone has some kind of story. Like, just hunt for it. You'll find something in
You will.
there, you relate to, or we've all had our share of experiences, especially the older you get.
And
So
I think one of the things that people do at these parties, or in interviews online or what have you, is that they turn it back on themselves, right? So you'll tell me that, well, when you do art, you look at lighting in a particular way. I go, yes, my lighting, no, 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 no. So I'm really not talking to you. I'm just talking to myself, right?
right. Yes.
You
Yeah.
have to mutual conversation. That's what's important.
Yeah. Connection.
Connection. Yes. David, where can people find your art?
I'm at dave-rheaume.pixels.com. It's
Okay.
it's a print on demand site, but the advantage of it is that you'll see everything I've ever done has been loaded up there. So there's like 250 works or something like. There's a lot to look at, and even if people just want to go and have a look, I'm thrilled when people just come by and have a look, because that's part of it. You want your art to be seen, so that's a good place to go.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. No, I'm kidding.
Well, you're like that. You're not. You've got to be the least empathetic human I've ever met.
The worst interviewer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and for watching. As I said at the top of the interview, if you want to know tenacity, check out Dave Rheaume, because he starts stuff anew and refreshingly new, and he sets about doing it with great, great tenacity. And I have such respect for people who do that. His art, as I say, I've always called David Canada's artist, because go to his website and take a look at his art, because you will find that if you're Canadian or from the Midwest in the United States or various different places around the world, you will relate to what he paints. You will, because that's how you grew up, and it's really, really beautiful and poignant art with a lot of meaning to it. So take a look at Canada's artist, Dave Rheaume, and buy a piece and put it up on your wall, whether you're in South Korea or in North Korea.
That's right.
Artists,
Especially if you're in South Korea. Well, especially if you're in North Korea.
or whether you're in North Korea.
I think if Kim Jong-un has one of mine on his wall, that would be like as high an artistic achievement as you could have.
They'll probably eat it or something. Okay. Till we meet again, folks.
Thank you so much, my friend.
It was a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Until we meet again, as they say in Yiddish, sei gesund. Do you speak Yiddish, David?
No.
No, I know you don't. Not a word.
No,
right?
Yeah. That was a gotcha question.
I got you on that one. Do you have a second language?
Français.
Are you fluent in French?
Je n'ai pas fluent, mais je comprends beaucoup de français, mais de parler français, c'est une autre chose.
So romantic the way you speak.
I'm getting there. I've been on Duolingo for like a year.
Oh.
Because I get asked, because my name's Rheaume, so I get asked all the time.
Yes.
Especially when I'm showing in Ottawa or something. I get French people come into my booth all the time. Oh, David Rheaume, you parle français? And I'm like,
Terra
so
pluie.
I need to amend that. I'm halfway there. I need to go that extra mile and get fluent. So
Good for you. That's great.
Yeah.
And then after that is Yiddish, right?
After that's probably Turkish, believe it or not, because of my son marrying a Turkish woman and having his wedding in Turkey.
And then Yiddish?
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
maybe, hang on.
Thank you.
hang on, German first, then Yiddish.
And then Yiddish. Okay. All right, David. Big hug to you, my
All
friend.
right. Okay. Thank
Thanks
you.
for doing this.
Take care, my
Folks,
friend.
we shall see you soon. Thank you so much for joining me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.